What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Deep Dive Live. I'm sure you're all juiced and full of adrenaline, not only because you get to watch the deep dive, but because of that banging intro music. Ian, you're a music guy. Is that like listening first time you listened to Pantera?
Close.
Like the first time you heard ZZ Top when you were like 11 years old. That's how that music moves me. And we hope this show moves you as well. And we need you to move to another place for the best content that you can find. Longhorn Contact. That's Inside Texas. $1 American for new members only. That's our flash sale. And not flashing in a negative sense, but we just mean it happens quickly. Ian, are we excited to talk about this year's show? Because guess what we're going to do?
We're going to talk about Oklahoma's quarterback.
Yes. And you're going to get posted on a certain site, and everyone's going to weigh in with their love for you.
No, they don't allow any of their own members to post our takes.
Do they really? See, I tried to cut in on your action last year with one of my articles, and I almost got there, but you still maintain the main place in their hearts.
What? I think that was the last straw. I think that was the one where they're like, we got to stop letting Texas just like rage bait us into clicks.
It works. All right. We're going to try not to rage bait any of our esteemed viewers on the deep dive. What we are going to do is break down the next tranche of quarterbacks that we're going to see in 2026. So last week, we went over the first 4 quarterbacks that Texas will face. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? How are we going to defend them? How are we going to attack them? What can they do to us? And now we're going to do the next 4. And so we're going to be looking at the quarterbacks for OU, Florida, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. Should be an exciting group, a very diverse group of a very different archetype of different sorts of quarterbacks. And that's something I want to talk about a little bit more broadly, Ian, because even more than ever, college football has a very diverse way of attacking this position. Some of the star quarterbacks in college football are 6 feet tall and they don't have a big arm, but they're mobile and they're smart. And then you've got the 6'5" prototypes who look like, Drew Aller, right? And everything in between. So we're going to talk about that and why we're having this amazing diversity of quarterbacks. Ian, I'm going to let you start off in deference to your special status with our frenemies up north, the Oklahoma Sooners. Are you ready to talk about John Mateer?
I'm ready.
14 touchdowns and 11 picks. That's not a good ratio.
Yeah, I actually have, I guess, a nuanced perspective on Mateer. I kind of think he's pretty good, honestly. I think that last year was extremely unfair to him. They had to run him like 100 times in the first half of the season to avoid losses against Auburn and Michigan. That would have they would have been in such a bad spot if they were like halfway through the year and it was like, we're going to have to fire Brent Venables because they really don't want to spend the money to do that kind of thing. And so they were willing to do whatever it took to get that season off to the right start. And he had like no receivers. His offensive line was as bad as ours, almost as bad as ours.
Yeah.
They had 0 tight ends on the roster. 0. They played with a tight end like 90% of the time, but the guys they played with, none of them were actually tight ends. The running backs weren't that good. And so he just had to go in there and like try to make it work. And he had a ton of flaws and he missed open guys and he made bad mistakes throwing over the middle. But my God, he was so up against it all year. And I think that the negative perspective on him is unfair.
I agree with you. I actually think he's a good college quarterback. I think as you raise his supporting cast, his game will raise commensurately.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see that this year. They also had the thumb injury. I'm workshopping an idea that the thumb was actually amputated. It was replaced with another thumb, which was some sort of zombie or Frankenstein thumb. And that thumb operates with its own agenda. So that's why some weeks the thumb was betraying him, and that's why he was playing bad. And then other weeks the thumb wasn't a problem at all because he was in alignment with his thumb, or he'd bribed the thumb, or he paid attention to the thumb. But other weeks the thumb would rebel. Do you think there's validity to this?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's very compelling once you lay it out.
Yeah, it's so easy to imagine how he and his thumb may not have seen eye to eye on a number of things.
Or thumb to eye.
Or sure.
Yeah. Thumb to eye is also a good self-defense trick, Ian. Now, I think if my theory is correct, I think there's a chance they've replaced the old dysfunctional thumb with a better thumb. Or they've tamed the thumb. They've trained the thumb. And they've maybe given the thumb some concessions, and now it's going to act better in 2026. I think you'll see a bit more accurate John Mateer.
I think they got that. What's their big donor? Tim something. The guy that owns like oil rigs and then like a Hollywood business. Maybe they got some NIL going for the thumb. Maybe they got him some endorsements where he can it's his thumb and giving a thumbs up to Big Red Auto or something.
Yeah, we've already got people in the chat declaring a thumb war. Tell you what, the way he's rehabbed that thumb, I wouldn't want to go in a thumb war with John Mateer.
No, it's like it's like a cyborg thumb. It's got metal parts in there.
Even if you win the war, I think it changes you. You know? I think you come back and you can't recover from that thumb war and what it did to you and what you had to sacrifice.
So as far as Texas goes,
how are you defend John Mateer?
I think man coverage outside and loading the middle of the field works super well because their guys, use my thumb, don't get open that well outside against good coverage. And B, he doesn't like throwing outside the hash marks, especially when him and his thumb are not seeing eye to eye or thumb, whatever. But the thing I worry about with him is red zone quarterback run.
For sure.
How many touchdowns did he have last year? Like 16 or something? What was it?
Our esteemed producer is going to pull up his rushing stats in a moment.
Yeah, scroll down, Connor. Wake up, Connor. 15. Oh, 15. No, that was the year before. Only 8 last year.
Only 8. A mere 8.
Well, some of them were pretty clutch. I think they were mostly earlier in the year.
All right, let's consider a few things. Their receiver room is going to be better. So they did have one useful receiver last year. And a lot of their games were pinned on the hope of, can we get Isaiah Sategna open deep late in the game somehow? So Isaiah Sategna is a useful receiver. He's also an older guy who's played a lot of football. They added Trell Harris, who is a good player. If you watched any of the Virginia Cavaliers, pretty solid player. Not sure how he's going to scale up from ACC to SEC, but he's better than what OU had at that spot before. And then our own Quisling, our own Benedict Arnold, Parker Livingston, is going to be probably their number 3 receiver outside. I don't think there was a path for him to see a lot of balls at Texas, but that doesn't mean he's not a useful player as a number 3 receiver in a big spread offense, right?
Yeah, I think the air raid is also going to be kind to him because he was like one of the only guys at Texas that could handle route adjustments.
Yep.
And they will give him lots of chances to do those up in Oklahoma. Although I don't think he's practiced yet. I think he's had trouble with health. I think maybe Trell Harris may also have had some injury issues already. They have this uncanny knack for injuring any respectable receiver that emerges in the Brent Venables era. It's really it's sad. It's tragic. It's a little bit funny. Sategna also, it felt like once a game last year in SEC play, Sategna would get loose on something like a pick route or a screen or like a rare deep shot or something, and then they would score. it was almost just if you can just shut down Satania, they could not score. I think is going to still be a little bit true next year.
Yeah, we'll see, but I would say that their receiver group and their tight end group, if you want to throw that in as well, is improved. Agree?
Yeah. Do those guys catch? Do any of those guys catch like really well?
Trell Harris has got pretty good hands.
No, sorry, of the tight end group.
Yeah. The guy they got from Colorado State is kind of more receiving tight end. Rocky Beers, pretty awesome name.
Okay. That's such the most Colorado name. That may be the most Colorado name that has ever I've ever heard.
Rocky Beers? Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that. It's like being named Johnny Coors or something. Yeah. And then Hayden Hansen is the guy from Florida who started 30-something games. He's 6'7", 270. He's going to be their inline tight end when they want to actually run the ball. So, yeah, I mean, their offense is going to be better. I think that they're going to help raise Mateer's game because he's going to have more of a supportive infrastructure. But he is a guy that I think wants and is used to carrying the burden of offense. And I think that sometimes that can play against him. How can we turn that against him as Texas defending against him?
Slowed up. Remember Muschamp versus who was that? Adrian Martinez? No. Before that. Remember when Muschamp like shut down Nebraska in Lincoln in 2010? And there were plays where like Nebraska ran option plays where both the quarterback and the running back were tackled for losses on either end of the formation on the same play.
Yeah.
That you do that. You just sell out to stop the run. I bet you Mateer runs for like 600, 800 yards this year since they got these blocking tight ends and they have all these running backs and their line is getting better. I bet they try to just run the ball, run Mateer a lot, run the running backs a lot. And I don't think that this Texas defense is going to be one that you can really do that against.
Yeah, I think OU's improved. I think they're also improved on the O-line. I don't think they're going to be able to bully Texas. But I do think they have more diversity. They're certainly going to pay a lot of attention to that game plan because I think that game is important to Venables. It's very important to both fan bases. I mean, Texas fans try to play it cool with rivalries sometimes. That's a rivalry where we don't play it cool. Like, we want to destroy OU. We hate them. And I think the feeling's mutual. And I think if you had to say, it probably means a little more to them.
Yeah. They're going to be as all in as they can possibly be on this game this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting challenge. All right. Shall we move on to our next quarterback evaluation?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. We got a quarterback battle, Ian.
This one's interesting.
Yes, it is interesting. So I actually watched the Florida game. That's the level of dedication I have for you folks and our product.
Spring game.
Their spring game. Yeah, sorry. What did I say?
You just called it the Florida game.
Oh, the Florida game. Yeah, well, it is the Florida game. The Florida Gators played the Florida Gators. We've got a quarterback battle between Aaron Philo, the former Georgia Tech quarterback who came with former OC for Georgia Tech, Buster Faulkner, who is a very good OC, very well-respected guy. And I think that's a great hire by Florida's new head coach. He brought his guy who knows his system cold. The assumption was that he's going to come in and just be the starter. But there's a guy on the Florida roster, Trammell Jones, young guy, not a big guy. He's kind of slightly built, almost kind of like Casey Thompson-ish in his build. And he's kind of smooth. Like, it's interesting when you watch him. He doesn't have a big arm. He's actually not particularly fast, even though he's 6 feet, 6'1". They list him at 6'1". I think he's 6 feet tall. But he's kind of a good operator in the pocket, and he's very accurate. And sometimes that's enough because, Ian, the Florida Gators, on the down low, I don't think enough people know this, have a potentially elite wide receiver core. And these guys can fly. And they added Eric Singleton, which was an amazing sort of under-the-radar ad. And they've already got a bunch of guys like Mazzell. They've got, of course, Dallas Wilson, who didn't participate in the spring game, but Texas fans should know about him. These guys are loaded at wide receiver. They've got Jaden Baugh at running back, who's arguably the most well-rounded running back in college football. I mean, maybe only Ahmad Hardy could contest that. So the pieces are there. All you need is a reliable trigger man. And I think that's why this has become a real quarterback battle, because Aaron Philo turned it over a couple of times in that spring game. And Trammell Jones, frankly, looked better. So what the heck does that mean? Are we reading too much into a spring game? Do we have a real quarterback battle, or should we just write in Aaron Philo anyway?
I'm not sure. I think the trick for them is how to run the ball, because I don't know if they have any blocking tight ends. And if you have more receiving oriented tight ends, then you need the running threat at quarterback to help you get the numbers and the angles right in the box. Or else teams will just like sit back and too deep, play you honest in the run game, and it's hard to do anything. So Philo has that concern because Philo is not a runner.
He is run capable.
But he's not Haynes King.
He's not Haynes King.
I've always thought it was a little bit much because people would slobber over Georgia Tech's play designs the last couple of years and be like, this OC is the greatest guy ever. And I'd be like, well, if you tell me I can run my quarterback 20 times a game, I'm going to have some pretty sick play designs too. Because you can create endless conflict all the time. And now they don't have that. But watching the spring game, I saw like a lot of Sark looking stuff from Florida. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this guy knows how to design even when he doesn't have a Colin Klein battering ram to make things easy. But the run part, that would be where I think Trammell could maybe take it. Not that he's like a big runner, but I think he can like pull the ball on zone read and hurt you. I think Casey Thompson's a good comp. And I don't know if Philo, you can let him keep it and like run him down, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Philo's not a statue. I've seen him play. I mean, he can keep it on zone read and get 11 if you don't defend it right. So now that's not Haynes King dropping a 50-yard run on you, right? But I do also think there's more to Faulkner than just I run the quarterback, as you said. He's got some interesting stuff in his playbook. And Florida's going to have the speed and threat level at wide receiver to make that work. So it's going to be interesting. Summerall's inclination is to run the ball.
Yeah.
But he is not a defensive coordinator who limits the offense because he wants to protect his precious D. He's not that guy. He's never been that guy. So, I don't know. Of the SEC offseason hires, I think Summerall probably the best. I like what he's done, and he's done it at different places.
Over LSU?
Sorry?
Over LSU?
Oh, well, I guess I almost put that in a different category just because Kiffin is sort of a known commodity.
Okay.
I mean, yes, I would pick Kiffin. That's the safest. But of these speculative hires, Alex Golesh, Summerall, all that, I kind of like Summerall. I think he's a good coach, and he's done it at multiple places. He didn't just catch lightning in a bottle once and then time the coaching ladder well.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, I respect that guy. This is a very interesting thing also in that Florida had a very good offensive line last year that didn't yield offensive production because they were so remedial in their play calling and their quarterback play was so poor from DJ Lagway. So they actually have to replace a lot of their offensive line, which will be another challenge for the Gators. But for those of you who have any questions, Florida had 7 guys drafted to the NFL, despite their record and all that. Texas fans, you should know that that's a talented football team, and they are returning a bunch of talent. And all you need is the right coach to actually get this whipped into shape. But they're going to need a trigger man to make it happen. I don't think this is a decided quarterback battle at all. I think there are actually real questions. I think this is a battle that will go into late fall camp. And then I think Summerall will name a starter. He's not one of these guys that I'm going to play 2 guys in the opener. He's going to name a starter and go with him until he proves that he can't do it.
Who would you guess gets that job?
Philo.
From what I saw in the spring, Philo was much more decisive. When Trammell, when he did look comfortable on something, though, he looked better.
He throws a really nice ball. And, it's funny, like, there's just some quarterbacks who they throw the appropriate ball to the route. They know when to put a little loft on it. They know when to try to fire it in a little bit. They know how to lead someone so they don't have to turn their head or slow up. I mean, he's just got nice touch, and that's a very intriguing thing, especially at the college level, especially when you watch some guys like we're going to talk about next in Ole Miss's Trinidad Chambliss, who exemplifies throwing the right ball for the right route. But before we talk about him, we want to talk about the right mortgage guy for your mortgage. The biggest financial transaction of most people's lives, Ian, is what?
Buying a house.
Buying a house. And this is the gentleman who's going to make that happen for you. It's going to be seamless. Look, you don't buy houses all the time. So you're almost behind the 8 ball when it's time to go buy a house because you've got to find a mortgage guy. You've got to get a good realtor you trust, et cetera, et cetera. Let us do this work for you and give you the best mortgage guy in the great state of Texas. That's Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Gabe is a Longhorn alum, a diehard fan, just like all of us. He's also really damn good at his job. Former National Merit Scholar. He's got a law degree from a top 20 law school. This guy is way overqualified to be doing mortgages, but until he discovers that he should actually be working at NASA or something, let's take advantage of this and get this guy working on our behalf. And he is going to do exactly that. He's going to go to all the different lenders that he works with. He's going to have them compete and fight against each other. And he's going to craft the best possible deal for you and your situation. Call Gabe. This isn't the mortgage guy you got to track down. Hey, what's on this? Can you give me an update on this? You're going to be getting the updates every day on your phone, and you're going to know that area is secure, and you could just focus on getting a great house and starting your new chapter. Call them at 832-557-1095. All right. No new chapters at Ole Miss at the quarterback position, although they will be having a new chapter everywhere else as they hired the interim in Pete Golding. But look at these stats for Trinidad Chambliss. That's sick. This guy's from Ferris State, Ian. So I know there's a lot going on in college football. I know there's a lot that's undermining some of our love of the game in some ways. But then you get a story like Trinidad Chambliss, who leads his Ferris State team to Division II championships. He gets discovered somehow by Lane Kiffin's scouting apparatus. Kiffin evaluates him and goes, yeah, I like this guy. Bring him in. He'd be a good backup. Trinidad comes in. They have the anointed Austin Simmons, who everyone's like, oh, he's better than Jackson Dart. He's going to actually open up this passing offense. Simmons struggles a little and gets injured. Trinidad Chambliss comes in and takes Ole Miss to the greatest season in school history. What do we think of old Trinidad?
A lot.
He ain't 6'1", is he? Well, I'm not implying he's actually 6'4".
I know. I don't think he's that small.
I think he's pretty. I think when he gets measured, I think he's going to be lucky to be 6 feet tall. We'll see.
Sure. Not like 5'8" or something though.
No.
Yeah. He's well built too. He's probably all of 200 pounds. He's super quick, decisive. You were already hinting at it earlier, but he throws with the right velocity in the right place an awful lot. He gives his guys a chance on so many throws.
What do you think about his management of the RPO game? Can you think of a better RPO quarterback right now in college football?
Maybe not. Levitt could probably be okay in a almost the same system. No, I'm not coming up with a lot of easy contenders for that spot.
Would you call him a running quarter, like even a true dual threat? Or, I mean, he's certainly capable of running. but to me, he's almost got it ordered exactly right in that
Yes.
I'm trying to use my mobility and my agility to open up people downfield. But also, this is college, and I know I can take off running for 14 anytime you run man coverage on me.
Yeah.
He
He's the
seems to have
ultimate.
exactly figured out like how to manage this.
Right. He's the ultimate value add guy.
Yes.
He'll take off on 3rd and long if you give it to him. He'll do it if he needs to, just on other plays. He doesn't seek unnecessary contact. He's not like Ellinger or Pavia running people over. And then he can also run in the red zone. And they have a lot of different quarterback runs that they'll mix in for like short yardage and red zone. So he will do a little bit of the battering ram, quarterback power stuff judiciously.
Yeah, another thing to take a look at and notice, look at the number of interceptions. 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. His touchdown number is actually a little suppressed, partly because he'll run it in himself, partly because they have a hammer at running back who is, I mean, designed to convert 3rd and 2. He just always falls forward. Even if you hit him, if you hit that dude 6 yards in the backfield, it means that you're going to hold him to 2 yards net gain, right? It's a magical power, and it's very useful in a college offense. But, I mean, Trinidad Chambliss does not turn the ball over. And it's that ability to sort of operate a wide open, anything goes offense, but always take care of the ball. I mean, that's very enviable. It's every offensive coordinator's dream.
Yeah, it's just the ultimate dual threat veteran.
Yeah.
Who knows how to use his legs to push his team over the top when they need it, protects the ball, protects his own body for the duration of the season, gives his receivers a chance to make plays. Total package.
Yeah. Now, one thing that is going to be interesting, his wide receiver core is going to take a step back. Right now, they're counting on a former Longhorn to maybe be their number 1 or number 2 receiver. Do you know who that is, Ian?
Yeah. Justin actually said earlier this morning that.
Dang it.
Well, I already knew, but he said he's been uncoverable in spring, allegedly.
Yeah, it's Jonte Cook.
Jonte Cook.
You know what? I don't doubt it. I mean, talent's not ever been the issue with Jonte, so we'll see. But if he has his head on right, I think he could be very valuable for them. But they lost some really good receivers, and not just at wide receiver, but tight end. So I think we will see how that affects.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Right? Yeah. I was trying to remember if he was awesome.
Yeah, he was totally awesome. So I think they're going to take a step back in some ways, but tell you what, if you're counting on Ole Miss's offense, falling off completely just because Kiffin's gone, Trinidad Chambliss is going to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think they're going to be less of a threat than they were last year, because there were times last year when they were damn near unguardable. I mean, they gave Miami all they wanted for about 3 quarters.
This part of the schedule, man, we just listed a team that's going to be on an absolute religious jihad to win in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
This Florida team that everyone's overlooking.
Super talented.
Super talented and has a really good coach coming in.
Yeah.
This guy that we've now puffed up is one of the greatest pure college quarterbacks in football in the last few years. That's a rough, and these are not the 3 games that people are talking about.
No. I mean, there's a reason S&P views us as having the hardest schedule in college football. And if you look at it, it's not very close. Like, there's a margin between 1 and 2. And it's because of this. This is penciled in as in Longhorn fans' minds because it's in Austin, because Ole Miss lost some guys. They don't have Lane Kiffin. They're like, this is a win, right? Yeah. I'm telling you, if Trinidad Chambliss gets hot enough, this could be a game where we're happy to walk out of there winning by a field goal. I mean, it's just one, and this is like a run-of-the-mill game for us this year.
Yeah,
that's what's tough.
If you thought at Kentucky or at Mississippi State were traps, just wait for these games, right? This Florida and Ole Miss.
Hey, let's talk very quickly, at the risk of us going on a tangent, which is our want. Let's talk about the archetype here, because there was a time when Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, these kind of guys had restored the 6'5", 230-pound, big, strong, athletic, mobile quarterback, big arm, tall, looks a certain way. That we're getting back to that archetype of quarterback. But the college game says Damon Williams, Trinidad Chambliss, Kevin Jennings at SMU, who's kind of forgotten in this mold. These are all guys between 5'11", 6 feet, 6'1", Diego Pavia, of course. These are all incredibly effective college quarterbacks. And although the NFL draft is a very good litmus test for almost every position in evaluating your efficacy in college, quarterback still has some caveats where you can be a very good, even dominant college quarterback, and you don't necessarily level up to the next game of the NFL. How are we still seeing this archetype persist? Why? And does that make us feel a little better about the KJ Lacey's of the world as part of the future?
Definitely does on that. I think it's the defense is caught up to offenses again. So you had this maybe 10-year window where spread offense had made it possible to bring in the super gifted passer and line him up, consistently open shots, and then just cook people, right?
Yep.
Throwing down the field. And then defenses figured out, we have to start castling. We got to play too high. We have to take away easy shots. And third down pressures got more and more advanced. So that setting up a 6'4" cannon-armed pocket passer to hurt teams, I mean, it's really not even worth this. The juice isn't even worth the squeeze anymore in the college game, you could argue.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to set it up. But the quarterback that can just give you a +1 in the run game or take off when things aren't going well and make something happen is still a winning cheat code. And if he's like a fifth-year veteran who played 2 years at a lower level and accumulated knowledge and understanding of the game and got to lift weights and learn how to train and eat and all that, and then you get him and he's like a 4-year starter, that's really hard to beat.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot of value in getting the Arch Manning Diabell. If you can get some similar traits in a 6'4" guy,
if they can run.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
But I still think we need to make allowance, and this is something you and I have always tried to caution people. You can still be a dominant college quarterback and not really have a great NFL future.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard for people to wrap their minds around. And honestly, that's one of the values of coming down and recruiting the state of Texas. There's just every freaking high school now runs the spread, except your backyard, Ian. We know that.
The new one does, though.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Everyone runs the spread, and your quarterback is anywhere between 5'10" and 6'4". And they may have, they may be Drew Mestemaker type builds, or they may be the little gamer 5'11" dude who just throws a great ball and he can run around and he's accurate and he's kind of a gamer. That guy's incredibly effective in college football, and it's not going away. So I think that's something to consider even when we recruit. Now, by all means, go sign the Diabells and Arch Mannings. I'll take them. But I freaked out a little too much when we got Lacey. I was like, man, I don't like this. But I kind of forgot, hey, this archetype keeps working at the college level.
Yeah, he just needs to get his weight up.
That's it.
Trinidad came out of Grand Rapids, of all places.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Amazing story. I had to look up where Ferris State is, too. I'd never even heard of the school.
Isn't that in Michigan as well? Where is that?
I think so, yeah.
I don't even know. I live there. I don't even know where Ferris State is.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing story. So let's move on to our final quarterback, who is probably the most interesting X factor, Ian. What are we doing over there? Are we drumming? Are we excited?
Oh, yeah. I was trying to give you a drum roll for the final.
Oh, okay. There you go. Thank you. I appreciate that. Next time, do a bugle. Let's talk about Kamario Taylor. This guy is really interesting. And I'll tell you what, if Jeff Lebby is going to surprise and Mississippi State is going to surprise, this guy is going to be the reason. Remember this name. Kamario Taylor, every bit of 6'4", 230 pounds. He runs like a fullback. He's fast. He's elusive. He has a big arm. The question is, does he have that quick processing to really make the veer deadly? Can he make accurate throws downfield, which really opens up everything in that offense? But he is the next sort of iteration of making the veer and shoot really deadly, which is the veer and shoot is really kind of a numbers game, right? When you have a quarterback that can really run, and not only can he really run, but he's a big, strong guy, so he can take a few hits, that makes the numbers game even more terrifying for a defense. Let's talk about Kamario Taylor and what he could mean for Mississippi State. If they're going to rise out of the bottom, the cellar, this guy's going to be the reason why.
He is pretty terrifying. He looks like Lenore Sellers. I don't know. They may have a. So it was at 24 when Sellers in South Carolina were like 9-3.
Yep.
And people were like, if they had made the playoffs, this could have been interesting.
They would have been a terrifying team to draw in the playoffs just because of Sellers and because of their defense, right?
And their D-line, yeah. Well, I guess Mississippi State does not have 4 NFL players in the D-line, I don't think. Although they do have Jere Bledsoe.
They've got Gillette, Bledsoe. They've got a bunch of former Longhorns.
Yeah. Probably they're not going to be at that level. But Taylor, and they got Fluff Bothwell back.
Yep.
And I swear Lebby has such a knack for building run games. He built a sick run game last year with Blake Shapen.
Yeah.
When it's Kamario Taylor, it's going to be a concern.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our friend Joe Cook, an esteemed colleague, Joe Cook, wrote an article about SEC coaches in the hot seat, and he put Jeff Lebby number 1. That may be true, but I vehemently disagree with that. I think Lebby's done a very good job at Mississippi State. I think he's raised their level of play, and they were absolutely obliterated as a program, like absolutely destitute. And it's not like they have a ton of NIL to throw around, right? Is there a program in the SEC with less resources?
Vanderbilt, maybe?
Oh, Vanderbilt for sure exceeds them.
Kentucky, I think Vanderbilt. Well, it seems like Vanderbilt does now. Normally they don't bother, I think.
No, well they bother now because they got.
Yeah, they bother. Yeah, there's no doubt they have some wealthy alum. It's like the top academic school in the conference. I think probably Mississippi State. Although, to be fair, Mississippi State has more resources than like everyone in the Big 12 did, except for like Texas and Oklahoma.
Agreed. So that's one of the reasons I know people get tired of me saying there's 2 conferences that matter. And your most likely Cinderella, as has been evidenced, is not going to come out of the Big 12. It's not going to come out of the ACC. It's going to come out of one of the 2 conferences that matter because they have the underpinning of the contract, TV contract. So it's not a coincidence Indiana came, Vanderbilt came, because they have the ability, because they have this infrastructure of money, right? I think Mississippi State is as likely as anybody to emerge. Now, Michael Welch asked a good question. Do any of these quarterbacks warrant raising up a spy on the defense? There's 2 ways to think about this, Ian. One, you can kind of do a contain rush, but you can also just rely on your team speed to clean up the quarterback, right? Or clean up the quarterback scrambles. Or you can dedicate a spy, and that spy is not a pure spy. That spy is also a little bit in coverage, right? Like takes a little bit of a drop, but then just mirrors the quarterback and breaks on him. Problem is, if your spy is not a good enough athlete, quarterback will just run by that guy too, and you took a guy out of coverage. So what's your philosophy? Because if there's anyone that does warrant a spy on 3rd and 11, it might be Kamario Taylor. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I might just play zone and get.
I might just make that guy a blitzer and blitz to contain.
And I think I want 11 eyes partially on him.
Yeah.
I don't know if the passing is the question on Kamario Taylor is his passing ability. He has a cannon arm and he can throw deep on the one read shots. But if he has to start scanning, I don't know if he's going to find he may not be that dangerous. Well, that's like the wait and see. So I would love to have layered coverage and eyes on the backfield.
I'm pretty certain Levy has instructed him that his second or third read is run.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, the other thing to think about with Texas is we're going to be really fast. I know that's sort of like a duh statement, but I'm saying even faster than last year. Biles can fly. Ty Anthony Smith can fly. Colin Simmons, obviously. Even some of the guys that we play inside, that would be out there on 3rd and 12. It's not going to be Ian Gaffard, right? Lance Jackson, for his size, can fly. Our safeties can all run and tackle. I mean, Jelani McDonald, right? And our corners are big and can run. So there's a lot of value to just playing zone and saying, yeah, if you want to take off running, we don't need to assign a guy to you. We've got eyes on you and we'll take care of it. So I think it's an interesting question. Ultimately, when you're really fast on D and you're not sure the quarterback can carve you up with his reads, sometimes just play a zone. You don't have to dedicate a spy.
The bigger concern is really more in like the traditional run game.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stop him from just running option or quarterback run for consistent gains over and over again?
Well, that's the thing is, they're going to come out in their big extreme wide formations, right? They're going to have two X receivers whose outside foot is going to be almost touching the sideline.
Yeah.
And they're going to run zone read.
Yeah.
And so if you don't put 7 in the box, they've got a chance to run on you.
Yep.
If you put 7 in the box, it's all one-on-one outside. So you better lock those dudes down. And if you're doing that, you're probably playing man. So now all of a sudden, Kamario Taylor could take off up the sideline and drop a 50-yarder on you. So I'm telling you, if this guy hits, now I might be eating my words. This guy may not be able to process, and he freaks out and throws 7 picks in his first 4 games. But if he can process and he can be the kind of player that people think, dude, this opens up the veer and shoot in ways that Levy has not yet experienced as a signal caller.
Yeah, everybody needs to imagine, like, what if one of those Baylor teams had Cam Newton?
Oh God.
That's the we're not saying he's Cam Newton, but it's like still on the table that he could be that good, right? Or he could be Dak Prescott.
Well, I'll tell you what.
These things happen. This has literally happened before. The Mississippi State had Dak Prescott.
Well, here's the thing is people still believe in college football hierarchies despite all the evidence to the contrary. And it's very difficult for your mind to grasp that Mississippi State, if this thing hits, they're going to go 8-4. Like they're going to go 7-5. And that seems unthinkable. Their season win total is set at 4.5, by the way. I've got the over. And we'll know something early because I believe they play Minnesota, which is a fascinating battle of contrasting styles and approaches to football. But we'll know early what's up with Mississippi State. And, of course, they play a tough SEC schedule. But I'm just telling you, if this guy hits, Mississippi State's not going to be a game better. They're going to upset someone in Starkville that's significant. They're going to ruin somebody's season and playoff chances. So, anyway, file this away. And if he doesn't hit, they'll go 2-10 and Levy will get fired.
Speaking of Levy, one more thing on him. I've started referring to him as Briles Augustus and then Kendall as Commodus.
That's great. So he is the true heir?
He's the adopted, competent heir to the empire.
I think it's odd that you think Art Briles is Marcus Aurelius, but okay, I guess.
I mean, I don't think that's unfair.
All right. Well, here's the deal. I think part of the issue is people hate Bryles, so they hate Levy by proxy.
Yeah.
And that's fine, but also understand that I think Levy's a pretty good coach. I think he's a pretty good offensive mind. So even if it doesn't work out at Mississippi State, he'll be an offensive coordinator at a major school the next year, and he'll revive his career down the road. But Kamario Taylor, a name to know. This is a guy who can really run, and if he can throw 3 routes, Mississippi State's good to go.
Yeah, bubble, hitch, go.
There you go. And do it like fast, like process it, like get it out there.
That's the trick of it. Yeah.
That is the trick of it. Hey, if you could scroll down, Connor, and show his rushing yards. He barely played. And I think he started a game last year, maybe a game and a half. But you can see the rushing stats. 82 carries, 458 yards, 5.6 a carry, 8 touchdowns. That includes sacks.
Yeah, so, when you take out sacks, he was averaging, I believe, 6.8 yards per carry. So I looked it up.
Yeah, and if you watched, he started against Ole Miss in their season finale, and I think he dropped about 150 rushing on Ole Miss, and they could not tackle him. They could not get the guy on the ground. Ole Miss went pretty far in the playoffs. So, again, I'm not trying to overpromise Kamario. Now, the completion percentage should also get your attention there. But tell you what, that's doable if his yards per attempt stays at 8.2.
Yes.
If he could hit a bunch of deep balls, even if he's completely inaccurate and like scatter-armed and he's hitting mascots on the sideline every now and then, if he can run and hit deep balls, this offense is still going to hum, baby. All right, that's all I've got. What do you think, Ian? Any parting thoughts to tie this all in a bow? We talked about OU's John Mateer. We talked about the very live quarterback battle at Florida. Of course, we talked about Trinidad Chambliss, who we love at Ole Miss. And then finally, this massive wild card X factor, Kamario Taylor at Mississippi State. What do we think? And are we looking forward to this final group of quarterbacks next week?
I think we're going to look forward to it because it's going to be a break. This little middle stretch here that everybody's overlooking it's really daunting to see how many dangerous and or winning quarterbacks are on that list.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think part of it is the unknown of a guy like Kamario Taylor. And if you guys think we're kind of overplaying this, true. But there's like a 35% chance that if this guy's the truth, this is not going to be everyone that's penciled in or markered in Mississippi State as a W on their SEC schedule. They're going to be in for a very rude awakening.
Yeah, I'm glad we don't get him in Starkville again.
Nope, we're getting him at home. That's going to work in our favor. And frankly, I think another thing that'll work in our favor is I don't think their defense will have much for us. And I think we're going to put up a bunch of points. So we'll see. But in any event, go check out that season win total for Mississippi State. Go check out some of those games where an SEC power travels to Starkville, preferably the week before a big game that they've got maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's some interesting upset potential with the Bulldogs, and don't take them too lightly.
Imagine if you went in there and like your linebacker core is beat up and you're missing like your mic. And then your backup cannot fit like power read or something. Levy finds some scheme. You cannot fit it. And he just keeps running through your defense with a head of steam.
Or your backup linebacker runs like a 4.95 40. And he's a tough, reliable bruiser. And it's like, I don't think you're going to tackle Mr. Taylor in the open field. So, yeah, I think it's very interesting.
Could very easily be us. Not the 4.95. Oh, it could be the 4.95, or it could be the freshman that has like no idea where to be, and we just get destroyed.
Well, I've got good news for you, Ian. I'm expecting we put up a few points on the Bulldogs, so I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right. Well, you can bet we're going to be back next week talking to you about this final group of quarterbacks. One of the more interesting groups of quarterbacks that Texas has faced in a season in a very daunting schedule. And it doesn't get any easier And of course, we're going to have our scout, and we're going to be our giant I told you so's, because Ian and I did a deep dive right before we played A&M. We explained how Texas was going to defend Marcel Reed, how we were going to shut him down, and that's exactly what we did, and that's exactly how we shut him down. And we're going to talk about the game plan again this year, and we're excited to do that, as well as some other pretty interesting quarterbacks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys at Inside Texas, where you can join for the best and most exciting Longhorn conversation on the interwebs. Thanks all of you in the chat, and we'll see you next week. Hook 'em.